Hello, everybody. Joe Begadones here. Welcome back for another episode of Full Metal Demon Muramasa. Last time we left off, yeah, kind of, not gonna lie, bit of a bit of an expected conclusion there. Didn't take me by surprise that much. Just didn't know, you know, how long it was gonna take for something like that to happen. But it's like a band-aid. Just gotta get it over with. Close your eyes, grit your teeth, and rip it off. My man Yuhi did too good for this world, too pure, had too much hope in him, that things can change and be better. No, you just gotta accept that it sucks. It's always gonna suck. It has always sucked. It sucks right now. You just gotta live in the suck. And, try not to let it get you down too much. Anyway, I'm a little tired today. It's not that late. It's only like 6 o'clock, but man, it's been a scorcher this week. So much so that I completely missed recording on Wednesday. Well, no, I didn't record on Tuesday to have the video ready for Wednesday, and then for the video I recorded on Wednesday for Thursday, I forgot to actually upload it until I got home from work. Yeah, it just sat there. Like, I had the YouTube studio page open. I had put in all the info, did the thumbnail, changed the title, ready to go. And then I just never hit the upload. I just like changed tabs and went on with my night doing something else. So, oops. Hopefully I don't do that again. I got my coffee, so there's some sparks going on in my head. At least one neuron is a firing. I can guarantee you that. But yeah, hello, new man. Wait, what a broad I don't know if it's just like how his suit is tailored, where it's like a fucking cylinder. But my man's definitely needs to go see a tailor. It's a weird jacket too. Most business suits don't have like the double buttons all the way up on the sides. It's a bit of an odd style choice.
ご苦労だった。
Oh, well, that solved itself real quick. October 12th, 41st year of Koryu. Minato Kageyaki is remanded to the custody of Kanto District Jail. Charges: murder, 13 counts. Oh, who were the other 11? Parricide, 1 count. Oh, you've killed a parent too. 2 as in not me. I haven't done that. But I remember the word had come up earlier in the story. This is not a story of heroes. There's no place for heroes here. Chapter 1, The Crimson Fin. Now we get our opening. Yo, let's go. They pay good money for the 3D model. They're going to use the 3D model, goddammit. We're just going to sit here and vibe, Oh god, that's a lot of characters. Which means a lot of names I'm going to have to remember. Dude, I'm terrible with names. Like, IRL. I cannot. Straight up. Like, I still work with people that I've worked with for like 3 years. Can't remember their names. Like, off the top of my head, like, I look at some of them, it's like, it's there. Like, I'm pretty sure I know it, but it's like, not enough to be like 100%. It's like, that's the downside of working in a job where, you have your name on the front of your shirt. Well, at least for me, that since I don't have to fully commit it to memory, I just gotta kind of walk up to where they are and like look at their name tape and be like, oh yeah, That's who you are. I just mainly have them categorized in my head based off, like, their description and what their job is. Like, oh yeah, the tall guy that works in the hydraulics department with the red hair. That's a stash. Oh, and a hairdo. Goddamn, what's with your head? Very elongated.
やっぱり銃は好きになれません。煙たいですし、手応えも良くないですし。
You got some really bad gunpowder if, like, you're choking on the smoke.
おやお嬢様、飛び道具なのに手応えとはいかがなものでございましょう。
I mean, there is. It's called the recoil.
あるんですよ。弾頭が標的を撃ち抜いた瞬間に指の先から脊椎の裏まで駆け巡る壊れたオルガンのような旋律がこう。
You get the nice little, like, red pink mist that goes.
それは単に充足したサディズムが体を震わせているだけなのでは？
そう片付けられてしまうとただの変態ね。ひどいバーよ。
I mean, you just made a really bad analogy, so.
人にして人を殺せる輩は皆変態の異常者でございます、お嬢様。
Debatable.
待て。どういうつもりだ？
こういうつもりですけれども、
六原大官、長坂大尉殿です。
Okay.
長坂大尉、進駐軍司令部より派遣された巡察官として大和軍将兵の不適切な行いを是正することは私の責務ですの。
Oh, cool. Eternal Affairs. Fun.
我が兵が機関に対し何か失礼な振る舞いでも。
I mean, probably.
村人の挑発、限度を超えた酷使、作業から脱落した者に対する死刑、いずれも軍士官として適切なや
Yeah,
り
that
よう
kind
で
of
はありま
thing's
せんね。
generally frowned upon.
そのようなことを機関に言われる筋合いはない。
That
大和
includes,
の内政は六原に委任されているはずではないか。
that includes the life and death of its citizens.
ええ、GHQ の監督の下で。
最高事業の申請ならば党に済ませた。許可も得ている。
Yeah, but you can't be killing your laborers.
けれど、それはあくまで書類上のこと。あなた方の市政の実態を調査し、この町からの事実が発見された時には、状況の悪化を防ぐ措置を取るのが
OSHA's here to
巡
fucking
察官の
shut you
職権
down
のう
because you
ち。
didn't have a proper step ladder, you know, and fall protection.
バカな。
これは試験なのですけれど、民政局への付け届けが足りなかったのではありませんこと？
古武殿中佐の胃袋にも財布にも信頼にも奴の欲しがるものを欲しがるだけ詰め込んでやった。
It's always more.
それは確かですか？
確かだよ。この事業の予算の1割は奴が一人で食い潰したようなものだ。機関、
You can't
何
go.
も聞かされておらんのか。
Can't just go.
奴は
ratting
万事
on
うまく
your
取り計らうと
blatant
受け負
corruption,
った
my
のだ
guy.
ぞ。
No, gotta at least, you know, have a veneer of, you know, keeping it all above board.
まあ、大変。さよ、今のを聞きまして。私たち、贈収賄事件の重大な証拠を掴んでしまったみたい。
大変ドラマティックな展開でございます、
Who
お
could
嬢
have
様。
foreseen this turn of events?
バカにしているのか貴様らは。
そんなつもりはないのですけれど。
Yeah, we're just confirming the
Yeah.
details.
はばかりながらお嬢様、客観的に評価いたしまして、我々は大尉殿を遺憾なく小馬鹿にしております。
あら、そうでしたの？申し訳ありません。私ったらどうもこういうことには疎くて。
It's okay. Just means you're probably autistic.
目的は何だ。
目的？
機関の目的だ。とどのつまり何が欲しいのだ。金か、
And that's a
それとも
very
鉱
good
山の利
question.
権か。
困ったことね、さよ。会話が
Like,
通じ
yeah,
ていません。
by the books, you know.
まことに難儀なことで、いかがでございましょう。 ここは一つ大井殿の脳天に風穴を開けてやって、ちっとは物の道理がわかるようにして差し上げては。
それが
I
親
mean, you
切
gotta
と
be
いうも
careful
の
though.
か
The
しら。
hole's too big, you
で
know.
は
Your words are
そう
just
い
gonna
うこと
go
ですので
in one hole and out the other.
Please go to your grave. せっかく村の人たちが掘ってくださった穴、有効にご活用くださいまし。
小娘。
Oh, that was fast. The instant the prefect, perhaps soon to be ex-prefect, dons his tsurugi and attacks the two women, the old man knows that he must act. He also knows that he will not make it in time. Stopping that fool is his responsibility, for he alone knows the reason for his foolishness. He needs to settle it himself, to end it without another drop of innocent blood spilled. If only he could have stopped the prefect before his madness swallowed the village. 2 worthwhile old men have died. 2 worthless, like me just making up words. 2 worthless old men would have died, and that would have been the end of it. But fate is not so kind. Time has taken its toll on him. His preparations took longer, far longer than he anticipated, and so he's been forced to watch, helpless, as the bodies piled even higher. And now a new body will be added to the stack. The young inspector, the first person to stand against the prefect, will die. Her methods were certainly not beyond reproach, but that does not change the fact that she acted to save the village. Yet, with her death, the village's fate may well be sealed. The old man is hardly versed in the affairs of the outside world, but he is aware that his country was defeated in a war and is now occupied by a foreign power. Should a member of the occupying army meet in an untimely end in this village? While the woman was clearly of Yamatoan... Okay, I guess that's what we're going to go with. Yamatoan stock, her uniform marks her just as clearly as an officer of GHQ. There's no reason to believe that her superiors will not blame the local population for her death. The prefect must be stopped, here and now, and the old man is the one who must stop him, and yet... Looking back, he sees a life full of regrets. Must he now add one more to the tally, here at the end of his days? The dragoon charges, his feet gouging deep craters in the earth. His armor is Kazuuchi, not worthy to be called a tsurugi, but its power and speed far surpass a mere human's all the same. Simply tracking its movements is impossible, to say nothing of resisting its strike. Stop him, the old man prays. Once, just once, turn his blade. Do for me what I cannot. I will handle the rest. I will finish this with my own hands. His prayers are in vain, he knows. There is no one to answer them. Things are not always so. Once, there were those who used their might to protect the weak and powerless. Or that, at least, was what the man believed, for there were still examples enough to admire. But not anymore. The people have lost their faith. Now, when men speak of Musha, it is only with loathing, never hope. The old man's prayers do not reach, and if they did, they would go unanswered. There are... No. Something crimson fills his sight, as though to blot out the clear blue sky. A spray of blood, perhaps? No. It is massive armor, gleaming blade, force of presence to rouse the men's hearts. It is might in humanoid form, a god descended from the heavens, or perhaps a demon crawled up from the pits of hell. What is it, this thing standing before him? It cannot be, but there it is. Impossible. Unmistakable.
ちっちゃ、あれ何？
He knows the answer to his granddaughter's question. He knows what it is that has come like a miracle. He knows it in his heart, no, in his blood. The blood of Smiths is speaking to him, telling him the nature of the Crimson Giant. It is... a true Tsurugi. A true Musha. Chapter 2 The Promised. This time, events proceeded at a breakneck pace. It didn't start out that way, however. Immediately after Muramasa appeared outside my cell with news of Kinsego's whereabouts, I contacted the Kamakura police commissioner, who made the necessary arrangements. I left the jail not as a prisoner, but as Deputy Officer Minato Kageyaki. Muramasa then led me to a small village not far from Kamakura. I've gone through this same process several times already. All perfectly ordinary. In the 30 minutes that passed after reaching the village, however, made more progress than any previous investigation had seen in 3 days. I can only assume that this village is enclosed in some sort of bubble where time moves faster. Disturbed by the tense atmosphere surrounding what by all accounts should have been a sleepy little hamlet, I questioned a farmer and learned that a GHQ inspector was present. Seemed as good a lead as any, so I traced the inspector's movements to a half-complete mine in the outskirts of the village, where the first thing I saw was 2 Rokuhara soldiers moments away from executing a miner who had clearly succumbed to exhaustion. Before I could do anything to stop them, 2 gunshots rang out over the din of the crowd and the soldiers collapsed, dead where they stood. I looked in the direction from which the shots had come, and there saw a Yamatoan woman in GHQ uniform blowing smoke from the barrel of a rifle. You don't need to do that. There's no need to blow the smoke away. It's fine. Just leave it. A man who appeared to be the Rokuhara officer in charge then engaged the woman in heated discussion, which came to an abrupt end when he donned his tsurugi and fell upon her in a fit of rage. At that moment, Muramasa's Kinchojo erupted inside my brain. Kinsego's signature detected. That Tsurugi is carrying an egg. Which is how I now find myself leaping into battle without the slightest idea of what's going on. I don't know who I am. I don't know what's going on. All I know is that I must kill. The woman's long hair streams behind her, whipped by the gust of wind preceding the dragoon's sword. In a fraction of a second, that blade will carve her and her elderly companion up like a deranged surgeon's scalpel. The time remaining is so little that it's practically non-existent. Which is to say more than enough. In less time than it takes for a drill to punch through a sheet of rice paper, I interpose myself between the dragoon and his targets and strike his malice aside. Man, those flashes, really not good for my eyes when I'm recording in this dark room. No one cries out in surprise. The 2 women, still alive thankfully, are unlikely to have registered my movements with their unaugmented senses, and the dragoon likely still believes that his sword has avenged his honor, rather than plowed harmlessly into the ground. It'll take them a moment more to catch up with reality. I step in with my left leg, determined to wrest even that brief instant from the enemy's grasp. The entire weight of my armored body gathers at the sole of my foot, driving it deep into the hard crust of the mountain. My lower body grips the ground like an iron stake. With that as my axis, I turn perpendicular to the Rokuhara Musha and drive my elbow into his chest. The force of my blow sends the armored Musha flying. He bounces off the ground twice, like a stone skipping across a pond, then comes to a rest 10 meters away, where he finally realizes what has happened.
NANI?!
The impact does not appear to have jarred him. He leaps up, one smooth motion, and stands on steady feet. I hardly expected to defeat a Musha with a single elbow strike. Even so, the speed of his recovery is astonishing. The fruit of rigorous training, no doubt.
武者だとどこの部隊のものだ
I feel his gaze scan my collar plate, searching for the rank insignia a shogunate soldier would have there. Needless to say, I do not.
とにかくどけこの村は俺の管轄だどこ文句があれば古賀
Yep,
中将
file the
閣下に申し立て
paperwork
ろ
in triplicate, black ink only.
断る今ここでその首をもらう反逆かいや、軍法上の反逆行為には該当しない 六原の指揮系統と自分は無関係だ。
Insurrection then.
何？
A few seconds of silence follow while the man considers the implications of a Musha outside Rogahara control.
では貴様はどこの所属だ？進駐軍か。あの
Nothing wrong
女
for
と
playing
同
with
様、
for the winning
外
team
国の
guy.
輩というわけか。一切の所属は持たない。
This is not intended as a lie. My status as a deputy police officer is for convenience's sake only, and has no official standing. Moreover, I'm hardly worthy to name myself an officer of the law. Rather, I'm quite the opposite.
単なる殺し屋とでも思ってもらえれば結構。殺し屋？
Yeah, we need your eggs. The Musha scoffs at this.
誰ぞに頼まれて俺を殺しに来たというのか。それは誰だ？
Look, man, we just want the eggs.
いや、
My words seem to have misled the man.
依頼人はいないし、報酬もない。
Yeah, it's
殺し
nothing,
屋ではない。
nothing so grand.
非営利方針を掲げている。主な活動理由は、それは。
I can practically see the veins bulging on his forehead, even through that thick helmet. The enraged dragoon advances a single step.
ただの通り魔というのだ、タワゲ！
Not wrong. He steps forward once more, this time leading into an attack. His sword slashes down like a guillotine's blade. Even though I was prepared for the strike, its speed and strength afford me precious little time to evade. I push off with my right foot, hopping backwards and turning my body to the side.
なるほど。
I concede silently as the blade passes millimeters from my armor.
次からはそう名乗ろう。
I mean, it's very punchy, you know. Very straight to the point. My back step takes me several paces away, and there, I face off with the dragoon anew. His balance undisturbed by the failed attack has immediately reseated its weapon and prepares for a second charge. Still, I hear frustration in his next words.
近頃の若い奴らは人を愚弄する手口ばかりが達者か。情
Is
けな
that
い
why you
話
lost the
よ。
war?
俺どもの若い頃は今少し骨があったように思うがな。面目な。
Though mockery wasn't my intent,
年長者の若者に対する批判は人類史上不変だという。
mm-hmm.
甘んじておこう。
it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do, though.
そうなの？
4000年前のエジプトの壁画にも最近の若い者はと書かれていたとか。
Yeah, pretty much.
ふん。
Distance between us is about 5 or 6 meters. I can't shake a feeling of discomfort at facing another Musha at such close range. Most battles between Musha take place in the sky. During aerial combat, it's extremely rare for an opponent to be so close for so long. It likely feels the same, I predict, as I examine my enemy in detail. His Tsurugi is a Kazuuchi, a Type 88 that is standard issue for Navy Dragoons. As is customary for high-ranking officers, he has removed the 7.7mm machine gun. Now, don't do that. A naval officer should have even less experience fighting on solid ground than an army Musha would. His slight shifts in weight are likely as much to allay his unease as they are to gauge timing. In which case...
ミド、先手を寄港して上座を取りましょう。
いいな。
The same course of action just occurred to me too, but I reject it with a quick shake of the head. In Musha combat, it is of course greatly advantageous to be the first in the air. However,
相手が飛ぶのを待つ。
なぜ？
俺が先に飛んだ時、後に残すのはこの鉄器だけではない。
okay. Muramasa falls silent. She seems to have caught my implication. Switching to flight mode greatly increases a Musha's speed and allows him to take full advantage of his Tsurugi's abilities. The trade-off, however, is that a Musha in the air cannot move with the same precision as a Musha on the ground. If I take to the air and the enemy falls immediately, all well and good, but I cannot discount the possibility that he may stay behind to deal with his original targets first. In that case, I doubt that I would be able to deflect his strike a second time. I have no choice but to wait for my opponent to make the first move. I wait and wait. But the Dragoon does not fly. He stays grounded, his Guittari cold and silent. His feet, though somewhat unsure, are clearly awaiting the moment to kick off, but not into the air. They remain rooted to the soil. Has he mistaken my refusal to fly for a trap, or...
先の先まで読んでのことか。
The Type 88 is an antiquated design with an emphasis on power and durability. Its speed and agility are merely average, so even if one takes the high ground first, it is unlikely to keep it for long. This is not always the case, of course, but there's no denying that the Type 88 is obsolete. It is currently being phased out in favor of the more agile Type 94. If he takes the obvious advantage and flies, he will almost certainly lose. Better to seek victory on the ground. Is that the conclusion he's reached? If so, then this opponent is fearsomely clever, doubtless the veteran of many battles.
時を与えるべからず。
Time always favors the warrior with more experience and more cards to play. The other must strike quickly before he has a chance to develop a plan. So be it.
一手、地層。参れ
I kick off with my right, lowering my head and bending forward until I can nearly taste the dirt. I hug the ground like an insect, my eyes fixed on the enemy's boots. His towering form blots out the sun. At that moment, I spring upwards with a rising slash. The Dragoon's sword is already there to meet me, slashing down from high above to split my skull in two. As expected. I pull my arms back, turning my rising slash into a lifting sweep. The Dragoon's sword meets it with a thunderous crash, then is knocked aside. His strike merely grazes my shoulder. Thus, the enemy's side is laid bare. Yoshino onryu kasen reiho tagai. Trick the enemy into striking at your head, then deflect his blade and exploit the opening. I turn to my wrists, and then my sword will cleave into his unprotected abdomen. The gooey insides.
まずまずの建前。
Like a Cadbury cream egg spilling out everywhere. Rather than lay the enemy's belly open, the sword has been stopped by his own. His reaction was too fast. No level of reflex or skill should allow a man to recover from a failed strike this quickly. Not if he was committed to it. Even for a Musha, it is unthinkable, which can only mean...
読み合いで上を行かれた。
そのようだ。
I replay the last exchange in my head. While his strike itself was sharp and swift, the impact preceding his sword's deflection did seem strangely light. Did he see through my ploy and relax his arms to prepare for the rapid alteration of my strike's trajectory? That would explain it.
貴様、従軍経験はあるか。先の大戦にて2年ほど。フィリピンの密林で村田銃を抱えて過ごした。
Hopefully not doing anything bad, you know? Nothing ever bad happened in the Philippines under Japanese occupation.
俺が最前線にいた時間はその6倍だ。若造、二等兵。貴様が放たれの頃から大陸を転戦して磨いた我が剣、見くびってほしくはないな。承知。以後は心する。
Our locked swords squeal in protest, shedding bright silver flakes as folding steel shaves away beneath the stress. The pressure against my sword is unbelievable. I can hear the bones of my arms creaking as I fight to push the enemy back. His power cannot be explained by the Type 88 specs alone. The pilot's own strength must be Herculean. No, that can't be all. Is something else at work here?
一つ尋ねる。なんだ、銀星号を知っているか。
I gauge his reaction. Though his expression is hidden beneath his helmet, at this range it is easy to sense an enemy's emotions.
銀星号。最近富に噂の殺戮魔とやらか。あれがどうしたという。
Yeah, like what, the thing in the tabloids? My question was pointless. The man's voice bears no trace of deceit. He has an egg, yet knows nothing about it or its origin. This is not without precedent, however. probably saw no need to appear before him, in which case, this train of thought is merely a distraction. I abandon it and concentrate on defeating my opponent, a prospect that has proven more difficult than I had hoped. I should have the advantage in a contest of strength, where Muramasa possesses significant power to wield effortlessly its massive Nodachi, currently missing. Yet, I am finding it difficult to overpower this enemy. The struggle continues, and the advantage shifting back and forth every second.
どっちがわかん
You also only have like a third of your your body energy. I don't know, your calories. You need to swing like Burger King after this.
けれどミド、聞いてはダメ。
分かっている。
If I pull back, I'm dead. Before I can even think about doing something fancy, like leaping back and striking in one motion, the enemy will power through my defense and claim my life. Of course, the same is true for the enemy. At the moment, neither of us has the option of retreat. There's no choice but to advance, planting my feet and pushing with all my strength. I expect his sword to return the favor, echoing my strength like a shout in a cathedral. However, my blade meets no resistance, and instead pushes through the enemy's guard.
引いた。押し切れる。
For an instant, I am dumbfounded by the stroke of luck. It proves an instant too long. Something slides into the space between my arms like a striking snake. The hilt of the dragoon's sword. With only his right hand on the hilt, he thrusts it smoothly into the opening and then his left hand returns to take the grip from the beneath. Ooh, words hard. Brr. Smoothly into the opening and then the left hand. Okay. Arm in arm, sword in sword, joined like two hooks. What does this mean? What does this shape portend?
些細な手妻だが、こんなものが役立つこともある。
The dragoon turns his sword, catching my arms, against the hilt, then twists.
腕絡み？
Arm locked by sword. My wrists and elbows cry out in pain, sending a jolt of lightning straight up my spine. Muramasa's armor is powerless against this attack. I can feel muscles warping and bones bending. My arms are moments away from breaking. There's no choice. I let go of my sword and leap to the rear. The result is exactly as expected.
引いたな、樹脂。
Nafe? Not about to waste this opportunity, the Rokuhara Musha instantly steps in to retake the distance I gained. At the same time, he forces his blade towards my neck. I barely managed to seize his arms in time, but the effort cost me my balance. His eyes look down, burning with triumph. I grip my teeth and match his stare. He has me in a mount position, his whole weight bearing down on his sword. He's aiming for the base of my neck, the gap where helmet meets shoulder plate. I push back against his arms, but this position affords him too great of an advantage.
さて、生意気な若造も、こうなれば少しは素直になれよう。もう一度問うぞ。
Seem to have left my business cards in
貴
my other pair
様
of
は
pants.
何者だ。すでに言った通り、その命をもらい受けに参った者。理由は一身上の都合。そうか。
Yeah, nothing personal. Ugh. I feel the ice-cold sensation of his blade slicing through skin.
筋金入りのバカ者にはもう少し荒領事がいるということらしいな。貴様の意地が切れるのが先か、そ
Yeah,
れ
it's
とも
generally
首が
bad
切れるのが先か
to,
試してくれるぞ。
We should probably do something about this. Only a millimeter or two of steel has entered my flesh so far, but the terrible cold of it is quickly spreading through my body. I'll be frozen solid by the time its depth reaches 1 centimeter. I'm unlikely to feel it by then, however. Survival will be difficult with a centimeter deep gash in my throat.
この尋問法には問題がある。
どんな？
口が聞けないではないか。
そうね。あなたが死ぬ前に向こうが気づいてくれるといいのだけれど。どうするの？人間の英知に期待をかけて、
That
このまま
seems
まな板の声
unlikely to
の真似
work at
事を
this
続けて
point.
みる？
他人を愚かと思い込む者は低能だが、他人の賢さを信じ込む者は無能だという。コイルを回せ。しのぎで抜ける。
この状況よ。正気？
Man, might as well give it a shot.
一応そのつもりだ。従え、村正。議論のいとまはない。
了解。
I exhale, long and slow, forcing down the anxiety that comes with hostile steel at my throat. Breathe too hard, and his blade could end my life. That is how close I am to death. As my breath expires, I relax my arms. The strength of my arms is the only thing holding back the enemy's sword, the last bulwark of a falling fortress. And now, I abandon it without the slightest hesitation. Sweet temptation and black terror threaten to reduce my brain to jelly. I am a tightrope walker, bouncing on one foot above a bottomless pit. I suppose Muramasa can't be blamed for doubting my sanity. My soft neck is now defenseless. Even a child could slay me with a little trouble. The Musha, however, hesitates. Precisely the reaction I expected from a veteran. He knows too much of war to leap hungrily upon every piece of meat tossed before his eyes. I'm granted a split second to act. Should I fail to do so, then I deserve to die. I inhale sharp and fast. Don't need much air. Half a liter will do. I swallow the oxygen, pressing it down to the pit of my stomach, where it churns and growls in intensity. I seize it, bind it, and mold it to my will. A small storm of power struggles to break free, but I keep it pinned even as I coax it into a frenzy. It howls and expands, seeking more power, but I keep tight rein on its fury. The storm becomes a typhoon, and the typhoon becomes a hurricane. Actually, typhoons and hurricanes are the exact same thing. It's just a typhoon is in the Pacific and a hurricane forms in the Atlantic. That's literally the only distinction. They are the exact same type of storm system. But I get what you're doing here. You know, hurricane sounds more powerful. As the torrent of power threatens to snap its chains and consume me, I impose upon it my final command. I direct a single strand that has escaped its prison into my arms, and from there into the arms of my enemy.
Yo.
I let go of the reins, setting the power free at last. It roars in ecstasy as it courses through my body, raging and gloating and bursting from every pore. Its imprisonment is over. Freedom!
Enchant. Minus.
流れ変える。
The Rokuhara Musha is blasted off me, clearing several meters in the blink of an eye. To an observer, it would appear as though the supine Muramasa sent the Dragoon flying with a single kick. An utterly ridiculous scene. Considering the weight of a Dragoon in his position, there should be no way for such a thing to occur. This madness is a product of Muramasa's shinogi. First, I place a magnetic charge on the enemy's armor. Then, kicking him in the chest with a leg carrying the identical, therefore repulsive, charge. Does the Rokuhara officer understand what happened? Unfortunately, I have no time to ask. I'm aware that my attack has not damaged the enemy significantly. In order to claim victory, I must exploit his moment of vulnerability. Muramasa's electromagnetic field won't last long. The shinogi is meant to be used in short bursts, and maintaining it for longer than a second puts a severe burden on my caloric reserves. Once dispelled, however, it requires an entire breathing cycle to restore. I could take this time to regroup, but even then, I would still be at a disadvantage. The wound to my neck is not shallow. Blood is leaking out even now. And with the body heat that I need to operate Muramasa, this moment is my only chance for victory. I charge. The Dragoon is already starting to rise. He is undamaged, as I thought. My kick only sent him tumbling. I step in before he can fully right himself. There's no time to recover my sword. I strike with the only weapon available, my body. Once again, the Type 88 goes flying, soaring to the air like a puppy struck by a speeding car. Oh no. And yet, the enemy still maintains his grip on his sword. Must have been prepared for the second impact. dealt no damage, nor have I succeeded in disarming my opponent. My heat levels are at their limit, forcing me to dispel the magnetic field. If I attempt to erect it again, I will almost certainly succumb to freeze. Cold is quickly stealing through my body, and my fingertips are growing numb. My attempt to reverse the situation ends here, with the enemy undamaged and myself on the brink of losing function. All that's left is the conclusion.
Mido!
おう
With the last of my strength, I kick off into the air. The conclusion is mine to write.
若造が
The Rokuhara warrior's cry of rage and dismay echoes across the sky. My attempt has succeeded. The situation is reversed. Even as the enemy ignites his engines, he knows that he is lost. The Dragoon chose not to fly because he knew that I would be victorious in an aerial confrontation. In which case, all I had to do was force him into the air. Feeding my last remaining energy into the Qatari at my back, I soar into the air and climb for altitude. The enemy does the same, but I'm far faster. I take the high ground, turn, and dive. The Type 88 has, in fact, not even begun to climb. It looks like he's having trouble acquiring stability after the unexpected toss into the sky. He's a sitting duck, primed for slaughter. I still have no sword, so my fist will have to suffice. That narrows it down to one viable target. I take the enemy's back and drive my fist into the armor of his waist. The Musha spirals out of control, and does not regain it. The armor around the waist is where the Sarugi's wings, or Hodo, are attached. Without them, the roaring of one's Qatari is nothing but noise, and my punch has destroyed more than half of the Dragoon's Hodo. But the remaining Hodo still serves some function. The Musha glides, more than plummets, from the sky, vanishing into the forest below too quickly for a perfect landing, but too slowly to be called a crash. I won't die from that. I have to find him and finish him.
村正敵機を捕捉しろ追尾する
無理よ
何
熱量が限界に達している
It's,
これ以上の気候は危
you're
険
on the magic
戦
pixel
闘は
button.
論外
Taking stock of my condition, I realize that I'm indeed no shape to fight. The numbness in my fingers is nearing total paralysis, and the cold filling my body has grown to match. As long as I maintain flight, my condition will continue to decay. I have no choice but to withdraw.
仕留め損ねたか
今回は仕方ないでしょ何分にも急なことだったし
Yeah, you only showed up with like a third of energy in the tank.
その急に対応しきれていれば最小限の時間で事態の解決が果たされていた戻ろう村正体調を回復させしかる後樹海を探索する
了
Yep,
解
time to go home and get your grub on. Which is what I plan to do after this. Maybe I'll order some Chinese food.
お嬢様。
赤い武者。
Indeed, it all started when that man returned to the village after his long absence, bringing with him the authority of a Rokuhara prefect. It was strange that a prefect would be assigned to a tiny village like this, and we were worried what would come of it. But at first, we also took some small comfort in the fact that this was his home. Surely he would consider our interests. But that turned out to be a hasty assumption indeed. The moment Nagasaka arrived with his men, he gathered up the villagers and declared that we would mine the mountain. Yes, that's right. The mountain has always been said to hide great treasures, ever since a hunter found a precious stone there in Tokugawa's day. The villagers back then were overjoyed, it said. They immediately hired mining experts and prepared to dig. But the Emishi tribesmen who lived on the mountain appeared before them and implored them to stop. According to the Emishi, the stone the hunter found belonged to the Konjin, the god of metal, and to dig for more would invite the god's wrath. But the villagers had never heard of the Konjin, so they ignored the Emishi and started digging. This has always been a poor village, so you can understand their excitement. And then, the god's wrath fell. It was quite terrifying, if you believe the stories. Just as the villagers were about to hit the vein, a blinding light surged from the mountain and swept the area like a living storm. Everyone whom the light touched turned to stone, or salt, or rusted. It changed with the storyteller, and the records do show for certain that many people died that day. In a panic, the villagers went to the Amishi chieftain and begged him to save them from the curse. It was selfish, after spurning the Amishi's warnings, but the Amishi did as they were asked without a word of complaint. They placed an ancient clan treasure in the deepest part of the mine as a barrier against the god's power, then collapsed the tunnel for good measure. It worked, as the curse never struck again. But the villagers were still afraid, so they built a shrine on the mountain to appease the Konjin, and gave it into the Amishi's keeping. They still present offerings there, though the shrine is in disrepair and few Amishi remain. Anyway, you know the history of the mountain. And Nagasaki intended to break that taboo. Digging a new tunnel would cost too much time and money, so he came up with the idea to reuse the original mine from the old records. We objected, of course. Not that all of us believe in the curse, mind you. It's an old story, and it's hard to say how much of it is true. Still, even if the mine were completed without inviting disaster, what then? All that we could look forward to was harsh, back-breaking labor. We knew that there was no chance we would see any of the profit. And if the legends were true, well, then the village would be destroyed. Either way, it can only end badly for us. Our protests were answered with drawn blades. I have no idea why he's so obsessed with the mine, but he executed everyone who spoke against him, even the previous mayor. Yes, that was my older brother. I was just a storekeeper at the time. Once they threatened our lives, we had no choice. There weren't many soldiers with the prefect, but he brought a few strange warriors with him. Mercenaries, perhaps. And these were frightfully strong. So, we obeyed and started digging. The work was cruel, and they gave us no rest. Many died from exhaustion or were executed as examples to the rest. Death if we resist, and death if we obeyed. The village was doomed, but the damned mine, at least, proceeded according to schedule and without incident, as though the Konjin approved of what Nagasaki was doing. I know I'm not the only one who wet his pillow with tears of dismay. We were at our wits' end. And then came you, Madam Inspector. The mayor's house is fairly large, with enough space in the guest room to hold a sumo match. I surmise that this is due less to the owner's wealth than to the simple overabundance of land. There we go, words. The room is not dirty, of course, but the furnishings are Spartan. Considering that this house has been home to many generations of mayors, its emptiness is a clear sign of any of the village's as any of this village's poverty. I mean, you say it's not dirty, but I guess that's just kind of like chipping and cracks on the plaster of the walls. You know, less dirt and just more wear and tear. The mayor himself seems uneasy, perhaps ashamed by the state of his home. I happen to find such austerity appealing, but he is unlikely to take that as a compliment when said austerity is not his choice. Besides, if he's truly ill at ease, then it is probably for the different reason. Though the presence of a complete stranger, myself, is likely a factor as well, the mayor's gaze has been fixed upon his other guests since the conversation began. She is a young woman for whom beautiful is an entirely appropriate description. Her long, shining hair is especially impressive. The delicate way she sips her tea and the easy smile resting on her lips suggest high breeding, an impression strengthened by the elderly woman standing beside her, with an invisible sign reading "maidservant" around her neck. She is the spitting image of a sheltered lady, or would be, if not for a rather conspicuous flaw. Perhaps flaw is not the right word. It does nothing to mar her appearance. The uniform suits her quite well, in fact, and that is the problem. They're not as bulky as medieval armor. Modern military uniforms remain coarse, utilitarian, and a portent of evil luck. Yet, it suits this image of feminine beauty perfectly. How can this be? There's nothing unusual about the uniform itself. Ah, of course. It is she who suits the uniform, not the other way around. The aura of blood and steel was hers all along. However she may appear, this woman is a soldier to the core. The mayor was present at the mine. He witnessed her kill 2 men without batting an eyelash, so he cannot now have mistaken her for a noblewoman in disguise. If that is not the source of his discomfort, then the only possibility is that he is troubled by what the uniform itself represents. League of Nations Allied Expeditionary Force, Yamato Garrison General Headquarters, aka GHQ. She wears the uniform of the foreign army that just 6 years ago was our country's mortal enemy, and that now maintains an occupying force right on our doorstep. It is they who allow Rokuhara to rule Yamato, they who sit silently by while the country is raped and pillaged. You could plumb the depths of the, oh god, that's a word, Ogasawara Trench and not find a single reason to appreciate their presence. Moreover, the woman's features are clearly Yamatoan. Quisling? Quisling? What? I do not know that word. Google, elucidate to me. Quisling? A traitor who collaborates with an enemy force occupying their country. Term used in Scandinavian language and English meaning. Looks like it was a Norwegian, like, former politician, former minister of defense who collaborated with the Nazis. While such a turncoat could normally expect to encounter loathing and suspicion, some strange twist of fate, she is also the person who risked her life in the villagers' defense. The mayor can hardly be blamed for not knowing what next to say. It falls to me to break the ice. I decide, though I too haven't the slightest idea how to begin.
Muramasa.
I whisper to the back of my throat. Once Master and Tsurugi have completed the Tatewaki no Gi, or rite of joining, even a voiceless whisper such as this will reach the other over any distance. Muramasa's response comes immediately.
何？
会話に詰まった。客の礼儀として何か言おうと思うのだが、どうすればいいと思う？
I don't know, start talking about sports?
え？それは、まあ、時効の挨拶なんかが定番じゃないのかしら。
なるほど。
I execute the plan forthwith.
良い日和ですね。
はあ。
Awkward silence.
他には？
そうね。小粋なジョークとか。
わかった。
Execute.
大阪城を建てたのは誰だか知っていますか？
大工。
I'm gonna assume there's more to that joke that's kind of lost in translation. An impasse.
他には？
ごめんなさい。お願いもう聞かないで。私、なんだかだんだんと自分がとてつもなく罪深いことをしているような気になってきて仕方がないの。
そうか。
Fortunately, my assistance is no longer needed. The woman has set her cup down and looks about to speak. It would seem that her silence was merely so that she could finish her tea. First, she addresses her companion.
おおむね事前調査の通りですね。
はい。
The old woman replies with a nod. In other words, her actions at the mine, which seemed awfully sudden to me, and no doubt everyone else present, were taken with prior knowledge of the situation. Of course. It doesn't change the fact that attacking a unit of Rokuhara's soldiers, including a dragoon, with a single rifle was as reckless an act as I have ever witnessed. I doubt I'll have a handle on this woman anytime soon, if ever. Next, she turns her thin, unreadable gaze upon me.
次はそちら様のお話を伺わせていただきたいのですけれど。
ごもっともです。
I can hardly expect her to ignore a Musha who appeared out of nowhere.
その前に遅ればせながらお礼を申し上げます。
私めからも感謝申し上げます。 卒じながらあなた様のお名前は。
Yeah, like if you're gonna be going after like people who maybe have like, you know, armored, you know, mobile fucking battle suits, maybe get like a bazooka or like a Panzerfaust or something. How to answer? I shouldn't divulge my identity to just anyone. Can these two be trusted? They can. Nope. It took a while to load there. My heart tells me that they can. Because she's in the affection chart, which means she's a heroine, which means getting her good graces is good. Because we'll probably do her route first. Mainly because she's the first one we got introduced to, and that's usually how we do things. Logic, of course, tells me that I know far too little about them. However, I cannot deny that my first impression is favorable. I know that it is risky to choose emotion over reason. Fortunately, I'm spared from making that choice. My analysis has concluded that to lie now is likely to cause trouble down the line. That aside, it is dangerous to develop affection for her. I must take care. How nice that it actually like tells you when you get, you know, affection points.
鎌倉警察署の港影明です。先ほどの行為は一身上の都合による振る舞い。差し出た真似と音がなく
Interest just, you know, it so
感謝など
happened
してい
to
ただくに
align
は及びません。
of wanting to kill that guy.
あらあら、そんなご謙遜はなさらないで。命を救っておきながら感謝はするななんて、それでは私恩知らずの恥知らず者になるしかありませんもの。
Yeah, it's
ね
just
バーヤ。
just common courtesy.
はい、全くでございます。港様、体温ある方とはいえ、お嬢様を防音無知の輩に貶めるがごときは、どうかご遠慮願わしゅう存じます。
そのようなつもりは決して。しかし、無礼を申しました。お詫びいたします。
Yes, I suppose that's how she would see it. I have some doubt as to whether she had even needed my assistance. Judging by her confidence during the confrontation, it seems safe to assume that she had some plan for handling the Dragoon and his men. Even so, I can understand how someone who values courtesy would be ashamed to dismiss help freely given as unnecessary. Were I in her position, I would likely feel the same. I bow in apology. Seeing this, the women look at each other, then laugh softly. Is my conduct amusing in some way? In my humble opinion, this woman who saved the village from Rokuhara's violence has absolutely no reason whatsoever to thank me. But of course, she has no way of knowing that.
あら、いけない。申し遅れました。GHQ 民生局の大鳥かなえです。恩人に先に名乗らせてしまって、こちらこそ無礼をお詫びしなくてはなりませんね。
Yeah, well, his uniform probably doesn't have a name tape.
ああ、これはさよがうっかりしておりました。村長殿にはすでに挨拶を済ませていたもので、どうかお許しを港様。
ご丁寧に。大鳥中尉殿、長倉侍従殿。
I bow once to each woman. The lieutenant's rank I gleaned from a look at her collar.
しかし、大鳥
What? Not a name you often hear in casual conversation. However, it would be unwise to pursue the obvious suspicion. I decided to let it pass for now. I am unfamiliar with any connotation associated with the name Otori.
港様は
How's it
警
spelled?
察の方なのですね。
はい。司祭あって公式の身分は持ちませんが。
あら、やっぱりそうなんですの？過分ながら警察局に武者を要する部門があるとは耳にしたことがなくて、そのあたり詳しくお尋ねしては失礼ですかしら。
He's kind of like a civilian contractor.
至極当然の疑問と存じます。しかし、ご遠慮いただければ幸いです。大和の武者はなべて六原の指揮下に。どうかそういうことにしておいていただきたく。いろいろと触りがありますゆえ。
It might have been easier just to keep my police ties a secret. Either way, though, I'll have to identify myself as a police officer during my investigation. No one will cooperate with a complete stranger. And of course, I will get back to the lieutenant once I do. Identifying myself now is the best way to avoid courting needless suspicion. For the same reason, I must be honest about what I can and cannot reveal. If that earns me her disapproval, so be it.
お嬢様。
承知いたしました。ぶしつけな質問をお許しくださいまし。先ほどこの村で武者同士の戦闘がありました。
Yeah, as you
し
can
かし
see,
あなたとは無関係。
the man before you is clearly not a musha, but merely a police officer.
それでよろしくて。
He can't fly, just look at him.
はい。ご配慮に感謝します。
Lieutenant Notori does not seem offended by my reticence? Huh? Fucking really bust up the thesaurus for that one. I can glean what it means, but I just want to hear what how it's pronounced.
Reticence.
Reticence. Okay, there we go. I put the emphasis in the wrong syllable. Reticence. At least on the surface. Though the look Miss Nagakura gives me is sharper than before.
鎌倉署から来られたということですけれど、この村の駐在の方ではありませんのね。
はい。ここへは捜査のため参りました。
それもお尋ねしない方がよろしいかしら。
Mayhaps.
いえ、こちらは差し支えありません。
Could be troublesome if it starts getting around, but I don't think I have to worry about that with her.
自分の任務は銀星号事件の捜査です。
は？何ですと？
銀星号。銀星号。さよ、それは確か。
One in the same.
はい。近年関東を中心に大活躍中と聞く無差別殺戮犯のことかと。
Yeah, that one's gonna stay in the quest log for a little bit.
そうよね。あらまあ、それは大変な。
The GHQ pair's reaction seems to be a little flat, especially in contrast to the mayor, who is staring at me in shock. Considering Ginsego's reputation, one can say that the mayor's reaction is far more natural. The two women may just have nerves of steel, or perhaps they were gone from Yamato until recently. That would not be surprising, given their affiliation.
なるほど。それで剣。失礼を。
ではまさか、あのお代官、長坂大尉
No.
がその銀星号の正体なのですか？
But he might give us a lead.
それは違います。しかし彼には銀星号と接触を持ち、ある種の協力関係を取り結んだ嫌疑があるのです。不覚にも逃走を許してしまいましたが。
He did kind of kick the
後ほ
shit
ど
out of him.
追跡を行
He's
う
gonna
つ
need
も
to
り
get
です。
his Sarugi repaired. Well, it's not Sarugi, but you know what I mean.
はあ、そういうことですの。
Lieutenant Otori falls silent and lowers her gaze. Companion 2 appears to be digesting my explanation. I can tell that the mayor has many questions of his own, but he refrains for now, probably understanding that I don't mean Ginsego is about to appear in his village right this moment. I'm grateful for this, as any other further questions would be difficult to answer.
おおむね了解いたしました、港様。私も許される範囲で協力させていただきます。
ありがたき
Yo,
ご
let's
好
go.
意。感謝に絶えません。
That said, I'd prefer to finish this mission without requesting her aid. Her soft pink lips curve into a smile. She must have discerned my reluctance.
どうか遠慮はなさらないでくださいましね。私の職務にも関わることですから。
失礼、注意殿。あなたの職
Well,
務をお
she says
伺い
she's
します。
internal affairs.
先ほどの
Mhm.
私とお代官のやりとりはお聞きになりませんでした？
近くにはおりましたが、詳しくは。
私は民生局から
Civil affairs,
巡察官とし
that's what it
てこの村に派遣されたものですの。人々の生活の実情を把握し、問題があれば改善に努めるのが職務になります。
巡察官。
I've heard of this system, and the lieutenant's execution of those Rokuhara soldiers would indeed seem to conform to its stated purpose. However,
率直な物言いをお許しいただければ、
どうぞ。
その制度が実効的に機能しているとは思いませんでした。単に対面を保つ都合上設置してあるだけのものかと。
Yeah, but she's one of the good ones who's actually following the letter of the law instead of just, having in the book to be like, look, it says in the books, which means we're allowed to do what we want.
あら、本当に率直な。でもそれはお互い様ではなくて、
確かに。
These days, failure is a perfectly acceptable synonym for police officer. Or do I have that backwards? An officer actively working to put an end to the Ginsego massacres must seem very strange indeed.
何もしない、何も見ない、何も聞かない。それが巡察官の慣行かもしれませんが、何もするなとは指示されていませんもの。何かしても咎められる筋合いはなし。
Now just going about it under your own prerogative.
ね、さよ。
はい。
I see. It would appear that Lieutenant Otori has a bit of a rebellious streak, or perhaps some other sort of streak.
とはいえ、私の活動が司令部に知られれば、すぐに召喚されてしまうでしょう。その後であのお代官様が戻ってくれば、村は結局元通り。
Yeah, you probably gotta go back and file some reports and do some paperwork saying that you fucking gadded two guys.
そういえば代官の部下は
武装解除の上で監禁しております。あの連中を応殺してしまえば多少代官殿もやりにくくなるでしょうけれどもね。
Would be a little harder to justify on a report.
現行犯でないと処刑は難しくてよ、バーヤ。
Mm-hmm.
と言って監獄に送りつけても一泊二日で帰ってくるでしょうし。
事故はいかがでございましょう。
監禁していた家屋が不幸な火災で、責任問題が村に行き着く可能性を考えるとどうかしら。
I don't know, like gas leak or something.
空から隕石が降ってきたのであれば、これはどうにもしようがございますまい。
Okay.
そうね。
Conversation has taken a turn for the sinister. Though, judging by the casual tone, it's probably just a poor attempt at humor. Probably.
まあそれはさておいて、ことが厄介になる前に狩猟閣を潰してしまえれば万事は丸く解決なのです、港様。私もあなたもお代官を捕らえたい。
Yeah, let's kill a guy.
目的は一致。協力は当然と思われません？
問題が一点。別の代官が赴任してきてまた同じことになるとも考えられます。
Not if you, threaten him with, getting killed too.
長坂大尉は最高事業を黙認させるために民生局へポケットマネーをばらまいたご様子。幕命による事業なら彼個人がそんな真似をする必要はありません。
Okay,
つま
fair.
りこれは独創。
この事業の収益を武器に出世階段を上ってゆく腹なのでしょうね。むしろ事業が軌道に乗るまでは幕府の介入を避けたいはず。
納得です。
Some, undisclosed
村
income
としても
on
代
his,
官がいなく
on
なり
his taxes.
最高事業が中止となれば最善。
はいはい願ってもないことでございます。どうか
There's always a but.
はい。
代官の部下のことですが、今のところ全てが捕まってい
Oh, that's
る
fine.
というわけではなく、
They'll get killed too.
まあこれはしたり見逃しがございましたか。
正規の兵士はあれで全員だと思います。しかし先ほども申しました。
あら、いけない。
Mm-hmm.
うっかり忘れていました。
Yeah, you did bring it up, but strange. How?
奴らは今日は朝からどこかへ出かけたようでして、悪運が強いと申しますか。
They were lucky or
それ
we
で
were lucky?
巡察官様とは出くわさずに済んだようで。
了解しました。念頭に置いておきます。
So the enemy may not be alone. Things could get complicated. But then, things are always complicated. I must exercise caution. It's nothing to be particularly anxious about.
では、大
Just
鳥
gotta
巡
dot
察
your
官
T's
殿
and cross your eyes, and you're good to go.
これより自分は任務を再開したく思いますが、行動の自由を認めていただけるでしょうか。
もちろんです。私はしばらくここへご厄介になります。支援が必要でしたらその都度ご連絡をくださいまし。
恐縮です。それでは失礼します。
So,
村長殿、
how will we get in
お邪魔いたし
contact
ま
with
した。
you? Just, both gonna be, working out of the village or get a
い
phone?
え何のお構いもできませず。
Hey, hey, buddy. Fancy meeting you here.
年を食ったかよ。俺も
I
あ
mean,
のような若造に。
it's more like your suit's just old.
畜生が。不覚であったの。主らしくもない。
Hello, new person?
小太郎。
Oh, that's a deep voice coming from you.
怪我は大したことはないようだの。
Not what I expected. You
うち
pure
み
fucking
てえとか
smoker. Jesus Christ.
何より何より主にもまだ運があるということよ。少し待て、薬をやろう。競争剤もあるがいかがする？飲むか？
Sounds real suspicious.
事情の説明はいらん様子だな。見ておったからの。何もせずにか。はてな、わしに何かできることがあ
What
っ
could
た
they
か
do? I don't know,
な。
throw a rock at him?
そらぞらしいことを抜かす。あの場に貴様がおれば、あやつめを打ち取ることもたやすかったはずだ。
I get what they mean by strange soldiers now.
いいなとは言わぬがの。それでいかがする？何？勢いに任せて巡察官とやらも切ったかね。
Well, then GHQ is really gonna get in a stink if you fucking kill one of their people.
それはいかんであろう。
Mm-hmm.
あの女を殺してしまったら我らは手詰まり。
No one cares about a couple villagers, but
拘束しておろうが無駄よ。
if you get someone on their
連中は
payroll,
対面のために
then-
主を処刑せずばなるまい。
then you gotta worry about them doing like they have to send their investigation for the insurance claims, and you gotta answer questions, and then they're gonna be mad because you got one of theirs, and then me.
それを思えば主が敗れたはむしろ不幸中の幸いよ。無論殺されては元も子もない。いざという際には手を出すつもりでいたが、わしごときの手は無用であったということよ。だからの、
I mean,
あまり責めて
you look
くれ
great
る
for it.
な。わしもいささか腰が重いかもしれんが、主より一回り余計に年を重ねてお
I
る
mean,
な。
it sounds like you fucking smoke a pack of Newports an hour, though.
抜かせ。
Seems like
まあいい。
seeing steam trains.
確か
That,
に
you know,
今
sound
回
like
は
they
俺の
smoke
失
less.
策であった。貴様に当たったところで線もないわ。しかし、この先は働いてもらうぞ。
Yeah, gotta work for that check.
無論わしは主に雇われた身ゆえ、ご用とあらば受けたまわろう。何をしようかの。
I like paintings.
歌を読もうか、それとも絵でも描こうかな。俺が貴様にくれている金は厚生年金か？冗談よ、凄むでない。残念なことに我が家の家訓には無為徒食という言葉がなくての。当たり前だ。本気せがましいわ。貴様とて
It's a
ここで
symbiotic
人稼ぎせね
relationship.
ば後がない身であろう。お、痛いところをついてくれるの。まさに叱りよ。しかと務めとを失い、剣までも一度は奪われた我が一族。
Okay.
怪しげな話にでも食いつかぬことには孫らが干上がる。 口の減らぬ。だがそう思うのならば、貴様らにはあの赤い武者を相手にしてもらおうか。
ほう、わしに譲るかね、あの村正
No,
を。
fuck that.
これ
You see how he
は
kicked my ass? I'm not doing that again.
主ほどの気概ある男であれば、借りは己の手で返さずにおかぬものと思っておった。
Fucking got my ass whooped. I'm not posting that video.
煽っているつもりか。言われずともできることならそうしている。
Mm-hmm.
だが翼を砕かれてはいかんともならぬわ。
飛べぬか。
鍛冶師に直させぬことにはな。価値か。まさか奴
Yeah,
が俺の
maybe
頼みを聞くはずも
Ghost to
なし。
have, you know, a thing called a
今頃は
friend
祝い酒でも
instead
煽
of
っ
just
てい
making
るか。
enemies out of literally everyone.
休
Except the people on your
息
payroll.
を取ればそのうち治ろう。
貴様らの真打ちと一緒にするな。和内はそこまで便利にできておらん。自然修復など待っておっては、俺も貴様も寿命が尽きるわ。
やれ、それでは仕方もなかろうの。心得た。年寄りの冷や水というものだが、ここは一つ置いてなお盛んなりと言わせてくれようかい。
奴は俺の首を取らねば済まぬ様
Because
子
if
だ
you got a Shinuchi, that means it's got a unique
すぐに
design.
も追ってこよう。任せたぞ。おいらくの身を貴様と二人、裏寂しい森に沈めるなどごめんなのでな。
それはこちらも願い下げよう。言うてはなんだが主の顔、墓の中まで付き合いたいような代物ではないからの。
Yeah, we're not friends here. Just business partners.
意見があって結構だ。
We don't have to hang out after work.
それはともかく。
Just sign my checks. That's all I want.
先ほど聞き捨てならぬことを漏らしたな。
とは
村正と言ったか。
あの赤い剣のことだの。
確かか。
さて、剣の目利きがわしの仕事ではない
What?
で
It
な。
appeared pretty distinct.
見立て違いということもあろう
Could
よ。
just be like a bunch of aftermarket kits, though. You know, fucking super glued on, held together with zip ties and a dream.
一目見て伝説が
Just
歌
like
う
every
村
fucking
正と断
shitbox
定はしたわけ
$500
か。
Honda Civic on Craigslist.
そういえばあの男、妙なことを尋ねてきた。銀星号のことを知らんかなどと。
ほう。
露骨にとぼけるではないか。
Mm-hmm.
俺の知らぬことを何か知っているようだ。
はてな。
貴様が俺の剣に施した妙な仕掛けとでも関わりのあることか。
Yeah, why does it smell like egg salad now? What's up with that?
まあよい。いずれにしろ、ことは厄介だ。あれが貴様の言う通り清州村正であろうとなかろうとな。賞賛はあるのか。
ほっ、その心配は無用に願おうかの。
Mm-hmm.
陽光村正であろうが名光正宗であろうが、この小太郎の前では同じこと。赤子に
Alright, you're talking to
等
big
しく
game guy.
無力で可愛いものよ。
随分と吠える。貴様らがそこまでの技を秘めていたとは、この俺にして知らなんだぞ。
You just gotta get him before he gets in his suit.
血の気の多い村の若い衆なぞ相手
Yeah, no
に
one
使
can
う
beat a
よう
good
な
old
も
car
のでも
bomb.
ないからの。主のような錬磨の猛者が敵ならば出さぬではないが。ほほ、見てみたいかの。
Not particularly.
それともそちらの御人が相手をしてくださるかな。
いや、そいつは勘弁していただけませんかね。
貴様。
ほ、久しいの反町殿。
どうもご無沙汰をし
Well,
まして。
at least it seems you two are already acquainted. That makes things easier.
ちょうどいい。貴
Oh, we're
様
all
に
one
使い
big
をやろう
happy
と
group
思
of
っていた
friends.
ところだ。
Work friends, though. Like, we can get along on the clock, but after work, don't call me.
はい。それはまあ、そうでしょうとも。大殿がおっしゃりたいことはよーくわかっております。
一応言わせろ。腹にたまる。貴様、民生局とのつなぎは万全だと言っていたのではなかったか。
I mean, the upper management.
これでどこからも邪魔は入らないと。
It's not a hive mind.
ねえ、はい。確かにそう申し上げました。古武殿中佐にお引き合わせした折でしたっけね。直に話す機会も必要だろうと、この反町の終戦で。
だが実際はどうだ。巡察官だと。あんなものをよこさせないための裏工作ではないか。
Nothing you can do
これで
about
は
it.
何の意味もないわ。
お怒りはごもっとも、大変ごもっともで。しかしですね、大殿。古武殿中佐は別にばっくれたわけでも、忘れてたわけでもないんでして。
約束通りのことはしたと。そう。
通すべきところにはちゃんと話を通しましたんで。はい。そいつは間違いないです。ただちょいと予想してなかった穴が、巡察官制度なんですがね。あれは民生局の人間が適当に割り振られていくやつで、占領地の実情を把握するための巡察ってのが任務なんですが、表向きのことでしてね。侵略者じゃありませんってカッコつけるためにあるようなもんでして、実際は有給休暇が慰安旅行みたいなもんなんです。
Yeah, just kind of go
何
around,
も
see
し
the
ないの
sights,
が暗黙の了解になってんですよ。
ignore what you see and report back. Yep, it's all good, boss.
そんなだから中佐も気にはしてなかったんですがね。それでも大和人の注意がここへ巡察に出たって聞くと、使い走りに非公式の伝言を与えて終わったんですよ。こうして。
貴様が
祭で。ただそれが間に合いませんでね。
Mm-hmm.
着いた時にはもう、あの巡察官がやっちまった後でして、後ほど中佐に連絡を飛ばしておきますが、驚くでしょうね。何もしないのが巡察官の本分だっていうのに、まさか建前の方を押し立てて暴れ回るお人がいようとは、いやはや。
伝言とやらは、
ねえ、こちらへ来る前に。大殿との約束がどんなのなんて言えませんから、単純に何もしないでほしいって意向を伝えるだけ
Okay,
の
did
内
you
容だったんで
explain
すよ
why
ね。
you were the one to deliver that message? You know, just random, suspicious man coming to tell you things?
それをいいことに白を切られちまいまして、自分は巡察官の職務を果たすだけですとこうで、そりゃ正論ですからね。こっち、
あの女は
Genie's
何
already
者
out of the bottle, just can't tell her to ignore it now.
詳しい話は存じませんがね。欧州のどこかの軍から連盟軍に出向してるんだそうで、そいつは別に珍しくも何ともありゃしませんが。
But
大和人なのだろう。
その通りで、名前も大鳥かなえで大和人。もちろん大和語に不自由はなし
I don't know.
と間違いのないところでしてね。それがどうして欧州にいたやら。
司令部での立場は強いのか。
いや全然。主流の派閥には属してないそうですからね。大和人なら何かで役に立つこともあるだろうってんで、民生局に
Don't
席
gotta
を
worry
与
about,
えられてる
having
よ
a
うなもんら
translator
しい
on
ですよ。
payroll.
では今回の件は単なる跳ねっ返りの独走なのだな。
そういうことですかね。
始末はどうつける。
古武殿中佐に連絡を取って召喚命令を出していただきましょう。
Reassign her somewhere else, far away.
いつになる。
こっちの連絡は明日中にはつくとして、電話がありゃ一発なんですがね。こんな村に電線が引かれてるわけは
3 to
ない
5
ですし、
business days.
それを受けた中佐殿がすぐに動いてくれた
So
と
what's
し
the day?
て、
If it's the end of the week, it might take, extra
巡査
long.
から巡察官への連絡は無線があるはずですんで、巡察官の方でイルスを決め込んだとしても、丸一日とはごまかせないでしょう。
Yeah, just gotta say you were
その
inspecting
後
the
は
mine and you didn't
再
get
び
any
大
reception.
殿の天下です。
ここ数日が勝負ということだの。
わかった。よろしく頼む。思えば貴様には世話になりっぱなしだな。GHQ との折衝に有志の仲介。幕兵以外の駒も入りようだろうと小太郎をよこしてもくれた。
Yeah, the power dynamics of this relationship seem a little skewed.
そうだの。
Other than, you know,
反
you being
町
the one,
殿はわしにとっても
paying everyone.
剣を取り戻してくれた上に儲け話の世話までしてくれた恩人。感謝しておるよ。
めっそうもないことで。
成功の暁には報いさせてもらおう。
いやお気持ちだけいただいておきましょうか。
I'm quite sure.
無欲な男だな。それとも俺が成功しようとしまいと貴様らにはどうでもいいのだと、そういうことか。
Probably. You look pretty
GHQ の
disposable.
使い走り。
Just a mook.
反町一蔵。
そう言っちゃ身も蓋もありませんが、ま、要はそういうことですかね。
鼻持ちならんやつめ。
恐れ入
Yeah,
りま
but
す。
useful. At least you perceive it to be.
もう一つ聞いておきたいことがある。
のんのりと。
赤い武者は見たか？
いえ、話は聞きましたがね。5歳なんだったよう
Yeah,
で。
everyone's talking about it. They say you got your ass kicked.
何者かわからんか？本人の言を信じるなら6からでも進駐軍でもないらしい。
さて、心当たりってほどのもんでもございませんが。
なんだ？
先刻、巡察官殿に会いに行った折ですがね。
Yeah, well, and if
前
he's a
にちら
cop,
りと
that
顔を合わ
means
せたことのある警官
Rokuhara,
と出
which
くわしました
means
んで。
警官？
やたら不景気な面した若い男なんですがね。
real tall, beanpole.
どういう人間だ？
さてね、口も聞いてないんで。ただあれはね、
いや、
あたしらなんかとはどうも生理的に合いそうにない野郎ですよ。
というと、
a thorn in your side, a pebble in your boot.
善人です。まっとうな家で教育を受けてきたんでしょうね。
それは確かに。
I mean, you say, but
わしは
sounds
と
like he
も
was
かく
also.
として主ら
I
は
can't remember
の
if it said convicted or
互い
charged
に虫
with
が好かぬであろうて。
killing at least one of his parents.
好きか嫌いかで言えば、別に嫌いじゃありませんがね。あたしゃ、真面目に生きてる人間はみんな好きなんで。善玉でも悪玉でも。
Okay,
Ne?
he's at least doing something with his life.
今の世の中誰もが真剣よ。遊びで生きていられるやつなどおらんわさ。それで反町殿、つまりはその男が武者だと？
そう決めつけられるほどの材料はないんですがね。
Okay,
ただ、
what, like
最
his
初に会った
stance,
時から思ってたんですがね。
or just like
あ
a
の男
vibe?
やっとの方は相当使いますよ。
武者であってもおかしくないほどにか。
え
警察が武者を抱えているとは
Yeah, he found it.
初耳だが。
Dug it out of the trash.
念のため反町殿、そやつの人相を教えてくださらんかな。
え、お安いご用で。
He's real distinct. A real, you know him when you see him kind of guy. But with that, that is where we're going to end it here for today. I know a little bit of a shorter episode, but here's what it is. It's getting late. It's almost 8 o'clock. I have to go make dinner. I have to do laundry too, which sucks. But is what it is. So once again, I'd like to thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and I'll see you guys on the next time for the next episode of Full Metal Demon Muramasa. Catch you guys there. Later. Bye.